I've got a really beautiful piece of English walnut here. It's very heavy too. You can see all that nice grain right here, and it's a crotch piece, and there's large sections of beautiful wood there, and it comes up here. I think this is going to really be nice, but it's got lots of issues. This is cracked here, and it's got a crack right there, but this is going to be the bottom, and I should turn that away without any problems. But the rings are separating, and some of the other English walnut that I got at the same time separated. Wasn't that way when it was cut down. I think it was really cold and we had a bad freeze. Maybe that could have done it, I'm not sure. I marked a place for a worm screw. I'm going to get that drilled, cut these corners off. It curves this way. I don't know what we're going to end up with, so you're going to have to just stick with me and see what we get out of this piece. And I'm not giving up on it. If I have to even use that sticky stuff to fix it, maybe I will. So I'll be right back. I've got it on the worm screw. You can see I cut some of the corners off, and this wood is also worm infested. That's why the tree died and had to be taken down. This is just covered with tracks and some holes, and I've actually found worms down inside. But this is going to be an exploring trip, see what we can find. Turning about 550 RPM with a 5/8 bowl gouge. I'm just going to start rounding this out and going up towards the top. Okay, so this is the ring that I was talking about being separated. It's separated a lot more right there. As soon as I get this round, I might drizzle some more CA in there. If I have to, I do have a little bit of that sticky stuff I could drizzle in there. We've got that cleaned up, and oh, that is really nice. Really nice. Move the camera, you need to see this. It looks like a spider nest. So here's where the ring is separated, and then a small hole down through the pith of this branch. Then we've got the, looks like a spider with it. That's his body in the middle, I guess. So, got some decisions to make. I don't want to quit on this thing. Not with all of this coming down. So we need to probably pour something in there. So it goes down 2.5 inches. I think it's going to be on the inside as well. Okay,
It's just too
I
big
think
to
about this.
use CA glue
Well,
on.
I've decided to mix up some coffee grounds and some wood glue, and I've got some black dye, and it's not totally black, but I didn't want it totally black. I do have a small thing of epoxy, but I hesitate to use it. It takes quite a while in this volume here to set up, and the fumes just linger forever, for days. And I have issues with my smelling sensories, and it doesn't do them any good. So I'm going to try this. I'm not opposed to epoxy being used. My system just doesn't tolerate it. I let this sit all night and it feels quite dry. So I'm going to take a cut across here, see how it looks. Then I need to flatten that bottom out, and then we'll start finalizing the shape. That's almost 800. Give that a try. So I'll tell you right now, the coffee grounds and glue and black dye was a total waste. So I'll try something else later on. Sure cuts nice. So yeah, I need to fill that a little more, and well, I'll just have to keep filling things. Those are too small to get the coffee in there. I think I'll make some sawdust. I'll stuff sawdust in this time. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and flatten this bottom. So we're going to go to plan B on patching this. I'm going to try to get a bunch of CA down in there. And in this crack here, that's a surprise. I want to get some down in here. Not worried about that hole. I could patch that with almost anything. Alright, let me get this cleaned up and I'll get some CA in there. So I did stop and fill some of those cracks with CA. I wanted to see how it worked, and it actually seems to be working. And I'm just going over it one more time, and this is pretty much what I did. I just got lots of nice fine sawdust from sanding. Put some CA in the cracks and I rub it in, and as soon as I get it where it's looking like I could go ahead and sand this, I think I'll stop, because I think I have the shape on it that I want. I spent quite a bit of time patching those cracks with the CA and the sawdust, and I went over it with the negative rake scraper, found I had to patch it again. I'll show you what I did, because I just patched a couple more spots. I think those are good, but there's one spot right there that I hadn't cleaned up. And we'll just go over this. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and well, I actually need a little more filling, but I'm going to hit this with 80 grit and flip it around, because when I turn the inside, I don't know for sure how those cracks are going to react, so I don't want to get too much work into this. So I've got my sander set up with some 80 grit. Slow it down a little bit to about 400. So it really didn't need a lot of sanding with 80 grit, but just in case there was CA, I wanted to do that. The other thing, I trued this tenon up, and it's a larger looking tenon because this is a big bowl. And I'm going to use this chuck here with these large heavy duty jaws on it, and they're serrated here and there's a dovetail on the end. This is big enough that I want to have a little more support. Alright, I've got it turned around, and I've got a crack heading towards the pith of all of those branches. The two forks, this one stopped right here. This one goes down to the center of it. This is the main branch, and it reaches the center, but it's fairly tight. I'm going to maybe take a ½ inch off and see what it looks like. That light went out and I had to turn it back on. I'll just start removing this center section, go down farther, and just use that process until I can see a lot more of this wall. But it's looking promising. Get up to about 725 RPM. I stopped quite a few times to check for bad cracks, and I filled a couple of them. I didn't show any of that, but I did have to stop quite a few times. So I've got about a 7/16 wall here, and I've got this one section where it's a little triangular piece that's cracked on both sides. It's nice and solid here with the CA glue. I don't think I want to go real thin, just because I think it'll hold together better. Maybe that's about 3/8 there, maybe less, so I don't know if I'll take all that off or not. There, we have a sidewall now. That's going to be it. I'm going to stop for a little while again and fill as much of these little cracks as I can. And it's not going to take too much this time. So it was a lot of work to get to this stage right here. I think it was worth it, and just wait till I get finished on that. I've got some really nice looking marbling of chocolate running down in here. I think it looks great. I'm ready to go ahead and try to clean it up with a negative rake scraper, and then it'll be time to sand. About 790 RPM. Okay, that looks pretty good. I don't think I opened anything back up. So I'm going to get straightened up here and we'll go ahead and sand it. Alright, time to make some dust. I'll be sanding this with the lathe running forward at about 400 RPM. I have a 80 grit, and I'll sand this and I'll sand the outside and work my way up through 400, and then we get to put a finish on here and see if it is as nice as I think it is. So that's pretty easy. Now I'll sand in reverse. Okay, and that's going to be real easy. Alright, I'll see you when it's all sanded up, and we will put a coat of finish on there. Well, I think it was worth it. I wasn't sure at first. I wasn't going to stop. These cracks were really being mean to me. I finished sanding this up to 600, and I usually stop at 400. But looking at this grain, I think we've got something that's really going to pop out here. So let's put the first coat of sanding sealer on, and that will be a shellac base sanding sealer. So I'm not sure, but I think it's going to look really nice. And I think it does. Oh yeah. I'll tell you what, it was worth it. There was a lot of work getting this to this stage, mostly because of the ring separations and cracks, but I don't think they look bad at all now. So I'll go ahead and get soaking it in there. I might end up with 3 coats of sanding sealer and 2 or 3 coats of shellac. I'll wipe it on just like I did this. But I will be hitting it with Scotch-Brite in between coats, or maybe sandpaper, depends how it feels. So I'll do the outside, but I'll show you this inside because the inside wood is so much prettier. And I'll be back when it's time to take that tenon off. I'm going to remove the tenon now, and I have it set this way because I want you to see the finished bowl all at one time. I just think it has some just totally amazing grain, and I think the finish is one of my best evers. So we'll get this cut off, and I'll get the bottom signed, and I'll come back and you'll get to see it, and I hope you like it as much as I do. 1/2 inch bowl gouge. So the whole time I'm cutting this down to get it smaller, I'm thinking, do I just want to chisel that little nub off? Because if something goes wrong and that nice finish hits the tool rest, that's not going to be good. So yes, I've made a decision to cut it smaller, but I'll tell you what, I'm thinking hard about stopping right about now. You're about ready to find out what I do. Okay, I'm going to sand this up, sign it, get some finish on it, and then you get to see it. It is all done, and I put a lot of work into patching this to keep it together while I turned it. And I've heard a lot of comments about don't mess with wood that has cracks in it, just throw it away, it grows on trees, and just pick another piece. Well, I don't know if I'm going to find another piece like this. And I knew that was in there looking at it before I even put it on the lathe. I could just tell by looking at the grain. And that is something I will not throw away. And look at the outside. It is just as nice. Just beautiful. It finished 8 1/8 inches in diameter. It's 4 inches tall and the base is 5 inches. I got the walls down to 5/16 of an inch. I used 3 coats of Zinsser seal coat and 3 coats of Zinsser shellac, and then I went over it with PEX abrasive paste and polish. And look at that. It's pretty obvious I like this piece of wood. It just looks beautiful. I love it. So if you have friends that are saying don't waste your time on a cracked piece of wood, well, don't turn a piece of wood that's going to fall apart on you. And this was obviously not going to fall apart. But send them over to watch this video and see what they think. And you tell me what you think. Was this worth turning and putting that extra work in it? I sure think it was. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, you can let me know by hitting that like button. Also, leave a comment and tell me what you think. I love reading them all, and I do my best to answer them all. If you're currently not subscribed, please consider doing so. If you are subscribed, thank you very much. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I do all types of turnings, and I love doing them all. Let me know your favorites. Thanks again, and until the next time, see you later.